Glasner would take the job in a heartbeat. That was what Ben Jacobs reported yesterday, or actually, I think it was even the day before. And there's been a lot of Glasner to Manchester United talk. Is he the perfect manager for Manchester United? Is he the number one candidate? Glasner, Xavi, Carrick have been the main links going about. Well, we will talk about that, but we're going to talk about all the latest Manchester United news in the next 10 minutes for you guys. We're going to talk about Antony, some of his comments, and maybe I'm just horrible, but I think Antony's talking nonsense. Bumo's spoken out about Amorim's system and what he thinks the problems are. Interesting there. Kane has been linked to Manchester United again, and Harry Kane is nearly on 20 goals for club and country. If you look at his England goals, he was on 19 goals, and in September 30th, it's now October 1st. But Harry Kane, we're going to talk about that. Carlos Baleba and some updates on Sekou Kone and his return, because with the state of our midfield, Sekou Kone could get some minutes this season. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. If you're new to the channel, I do a 10-minute video every single day, rounding up all the latest Manchester United news into 10 minutes for you guys, so you're up to date. Now, I want to talk about the manager situation, but we've been talking about the manager a lot, so I wanted to start with Antony. And maybe I'm just a bitch, but I don't really care what Antony says. Antony said he felt disrespected by Manchester United. There were very tough months in England, more than 40 days in a hotel, training separately. I feel like they disrespected me, but that's not the point. You know, could we have treated the bomb squad nicer? Could we have been more respectful to the bomb squad? Absolutely. But the reason I have no sympathy for Antony on saying he feels disrespected by United, that he was struggling. Okay, first of all, you spent 40 days in a 5-star hotel. Yes, there's the unknown. Yes, you really wanted your move, but you're in the luxury of a 5-star hotel. Second of all, Antony had many chances to move earlier. Antony was rejecting every club for Real Betis. Antony, if he really wanted out of Manchester United, had 4 or 5 clubs in for him. He even said it himself, he had Bayern Munich in for him. Antony was returning down every club in the world for Real Betis, knowing Real Betis could not match his wage demands. The reason Antony went to Real Betis at the end of the window is because Antony was demanding $5 million payout from Manchester United because Real Betis cannot match his wage demands. And look, you can blame Manchester United all you want for giving Antony those kind of wages. We shouldn't have given Antony the kind of wages he's on. We shouldn't have given Sancho the kind of wages that he's on. But when Sancho and Antony come out that they're so unhappy and that they want freedom, you'd think they would take a wage cut. If you're really that unhappy, if you really feel like that, you would take a wage cut to leave. You would. Rashford took a wage cut, a massive wage cut to leave and go to Barcelona because he was unhappy. So, do you know what? Antony feels disrespected, and I think we could have handled the bomb squad better. Don't get me wrong. I don't completely agree with the way that Manchester United acted. But Antony could have spent 15 days in a hotel if he accepted other clubs, 20 days in a hotel if he'd accepted a wage cut sooner to go to Betis. You had your move to Betis, you delayed it another week because you started asking Man United for money. If you were really that unhappy, why did you just not move to any old club straight away? Why were you demanding more money from Manchester United? So, yeah, I think Man United could have been more respectful, but I also hate this. I'm so unhappy at Man United, but you know what? I could have left sooner if I just took a wage cut, Sancho, Antony. So, yeah, no sympathy. Anyway, let's continue on into manager talk. So, it was reported yesterday that Manchester United are now casting the net to see what managers are available. United don't want the world to know this, so they're obviously going to deny this. But yes, United are looking at managers, whether that's on an interim basis, whether that's on a permanent basis. Manchester United are looking at potential alternatives to Ruben Amorim in the case they might have to sack Amorim. Like, if we lose to Sunderland and we put in a really bad performance, Manchester United may sack Ruben Amorim. Like, I think they might give him another month, but there's a possibility he could be sacked because it's not looking good. Now, the number one candidate, I think, to replace Amorim is Ole Glasner. But there's always been a question, would he leave Palace for Man United? Like, I think Palace are like 20 games unbeaten now. He's won a trophy at Palace. They're in Europe. Like, surely he would not leave Palace right now for Manchester United. It just doesn't make sense. I know we're Manchester United, but like, what he's doing at Palace is amazing. And Ben Jacobs said if Oliver Glasner was offered the Manchester United job, he would take it in a heartbeat. That's been said by Ben Jacobs, who, look, has been really credible this summer. There's now reports that Glasner would take the Man United job in a heartbeat. His contract is up at the end of the season, so it's actually an affordable deal to do. We don't even need to pay to get him out. I think it's a case of we sack Amorim, someone like Carrick comes in as interim to the end of the season, and I think when Glasner's contracts run out at the end of the season, we go snatch up Glasner. I think that's what United's plan is, but you never know. You know, Chelsea could sack Maresca and try and snatch up Glasner. If Chelsea don't have a good season, Liverpool could fall off and sack Slot. Not that I think Liverpool would do that, but, you know, there's always things that can happen. So, you know, do they want to wait to the end of the season? Baleba might get snatched up by Liverpool because we've waited a season to get Baleba. But apparently Glasner will take the job in a heartbeat. We know that he'll be 3 in the summer unless he signs a new deal or contract with Crystal Palace. And apparently Glasner wants the Manchester United job. So this is a big one to watch. This is a big one to watch because I think Glasner is maybe the perfect replacement for Ruben Amorim. Now, at first, I was saying maybe Iriola is. I think Iriola was my first choice. But now Glasner spoke about adapting and liking to play back fours and back fives and all that. I think Glasner, because I think I want an adaptable manager that's going to get the best out of our players. And while Glasner's had bad spells at Crystal Palace, don't get me wrong, he's managed to get the best out of that squad. Here are some tweets I agree with. With Glasner, European trophy winner, can play any formation, won Palace's first ever trophy, beat Pep and Slot in finals, 18 games unbeaten, Prem experience, free agent next summer. Palace fan also tweeted, Oliver Glasner's won 33, drawn 23, and lost 15 of his 71 matches in charge of Crystal Palace. A loss of a mere 21% is the lowest of any permanent manager since the club was founded. This man has changed lives in the South. A 21% loss rate. Ruben Amorim's got like a 22% win rate. I mean, that is crazy. And look, don't get me wrong, Crystal Palace have a good keeper in Dean Henderson. Crystal Palace have a good centre-back in Mark Gay, a great wing-back in, of course, Munoz, another great centre-back in Lacroix, a fantastic midfielder in Adam Wharton, a fantastic striker in Mateta. But they've lost Eze. They're still looking good. They lost Elise. They're still looking good. Glasner's doing some very good work. But is it Amorim's system? Is it the players? Like, what is the problem? Why isn't it working with Amorim? Brian Mbumo came out and said this: it's a bit different, but I've already played in the system. It's our responsibility to be better. I do not think it's the system, it's us who needs to improve. Now, I like that mentality from Mbumo, taking responsibility. What I don't like is Amorim completely blaming everything but the system and not taking any accountability himself. But I like Mbumo taking accountability. I like when people take accountability. My answer is this: Mbumo is 50% right. A big part of it is the players, and the players need to do more. But I do think the system needs to change. I think the problem is the players, and I think the problem is the system. And I think the manager needs to be less stubborn, adapt the system, and look for solutions. I think the players need to give the manager a whole lot more. I think it's a bit of both. I don't think it's a case of we sack Amorim and we're miraculously better, but I think we sack Amorim and we can come 8th or 9th. We stick with Amorim and we're 14th, 15th. That's how I feel right now. But Mbumo is taking responsibility, saying us players need to do better, and I like that. We also need better players. So let's talk about the transfer window. Harry Kane is open to a Premier League return and not necessarily to Tottenham. He's open to playing for another Premier League club as well, Manchester United, and monitoring the situation. I'd love Harry Kane. Don't think he fully suits the system. I know that he's old, but I just think Harry Kane to come in for 2 years for Sekou to learn from, 2 seasons, Robin Van Persie type signing. He's such a good player. 17 goals and 3 assists in 9 games this season. If you count the England goals as well, I think he'd be on 19 goals for the season or something like that. He's nearly on 20 goals, and it's October 1st for the season. He's got 20 goal contributions by the end of September for the season. Harry Kane is ridiculous. Look, it's the Bundesliga, of course. He's playing for Bayern Munich, of course. He's not going to get those numbers from Man United. But Harry Kane isn't just a goal scorer. He can play as a 10. He can play as a striker. He's a creator. He can link up play. He can hold the ball. He's fantastic. Harry Kane, Semenyo, Baleba, Wharton, and, if Lamens isn't good, a competent keeper and a decent centre-back is the summer for me. Man United aim to sign Baleba, regardless of what happens with Amorim. Baleba is viewed as the ideal midfielder for the club's future, with the board confident on his quality. I agree. I think Manchester United will look to sign one of Baleba, Wharton, or Anderson, regardless of what happens to Ruben Amorim, because we need midfielders. And I saw someone say it on Twitter the other day: we let go of Eriksen and Collier and didn't bring in a single midfielder this summer. Like, Eriksen and Collier have gone, and we didn't bring in a single midfielder this summer. Not that Eriksen and Collier played loads of minutes, but you actually think, if we went to a midfield 3, one injury away from having no midfield options left after that from that midfield 3. Luckily, we've only got 1 game a week, so it's not the end of the world. But we're super thin at midfield, and I'm surprised we didn't sign one. And talking of midfield and talking of potential solutions, Sekou Kone could have some involvement. Obviously not been involved too much lately as he picked up an eye socket injury. But it was said by the Mail that Sekou Kone was at the under-21s games against Athletic, and he shared a few brief words with Wilcox on the night. He continues to recover from his injury. There's a feeling that Sekou Kone will be back soon and potentially could break into the Manchester United team. So, guys, that is all your Manchester United news rounded up into 10 minutes. I hope you do enjoy this series, trying to get through the news nice and quickly and to the point. I will be back tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye.